the psychology behind the killer. They walk among us. Neighbours, co-workers, sometimes even family members. On the surface, they seem normal, ordinary even. But beneath that carefully constructed facade lies something far more sinister. What creates a serial killer? Are they born evil, or does something break inside them along the way? Welcome to Shadow Autopsy, and today we're diving deep into the darkest corners of the human mind to understand the psychology behind the killer. If there's one trait that nearly every serial killer shares, it's narcissism. Not the everyday kind where someone takes too many selfies. We're talking about a profound pathological belief that they are superior to everyone else. Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, scored a 32 on the Hare psychopathy scale, a level reserved for the most sadistic killers imaginable. He didn't just kill, he needed recognition for it. When the media wasn't covering his crimes, he literally wrote to a TV station asking, "How many people do I have to kill before I get a name in the paper?" The Zodiac killer was the same. He created elaborate ciphers, taunted police, and reveled in the terror he spread across San Francisco. One of his decoded messages read, "I like killing people because it is so much fun." But the real thrill wasn't just the killing. It was the control, the attention, the feeling of being smarter than everyone else. FBI investigators have learned to exploit this trait. When interviewing psychopathic killers, they use flattery. They praise their intelligence, their ability to outwit police. Why? Because these killers have such a grandiose sense of self-worth that a little praise opens them right up. Forensic psychologist Stephen A. Diamond calls this psychopathic narcissism, like an immature, selfish, raging child trapped inside a powerful adult body. They never grew up emotionally. They remained frozen in a state of self-obsession, believing the world revolves around them and their needs. Here's what makes this truly terrifying. Serial killers are masters of deception. John Wayne Gacy was known as Pogo the Clown. He performed at children's parties. He was married, had children, was active in his community. Dennis Rader was a compliance officer, a church president, a husband and father. Ted Bundy was charming, educated, good-looking. People trusted him. This is the double life. Criminal investigator Stephen Gianangelo describes their behavior as predatory aggression, calm, purposeful, like a carnivore hunting prey. There's no rage, no loss of control. They kill because they believe they need to, and they're very, very good at hiding it. Serial killers don't have normal human empathy, but they're experts at faking it. They study how normal people behave and mimic it perfectly. They know what to say, how to act, when to smile. They manipulate the people closest to them like puppets, exploiting insecurities and crafting personas that seem completely trustworthy. That's why families and friends are always shocked when the truth comes out. Jeffrey Dahmer's father couldn't believe it. His son had friends, was a good student, seemed normal, but it was easier for him to believe his son's lies than to confront the horrifying reality. The lesson? Trust your instincts. If something feels off about someone's empathy or concern, if they seem like they're just going through the motions, your gut is probably right. Not every abused child becomes a serial killer, but nearly every serial killer was an abused child. A Radford University study found that 68% of serial killers experience some form of maltreatment, physical, sexual, psychological, or neglect. An earlier study reported 100% had suffered childhood abuse. Paul Harrison, a British criminal profiler who interviewed some of the world's most dangerous killers, understands this intimately. He was locked in a cupboard for days by his own father as a child. While trapped, he started analysing what triggered his father's violence. That trauma led him to a career studying why people become monsters. The pattern is clear. Children who are shamed, humiliated, or punished disproportionately can develop a propensity for cruelty as a direct result. When children don't experience empathy from parents or caregivers, they sometimes never develop the ability to empathize with others. Dennis Rader reported violent sexual fantasies as a child. He claimed one defining moment was seeing his mother trapped and terrified, her ring caught in a couch spring. That's when he first felt sexual arousal from someone else's suffering. Whether this story is entirely true or not, it reveals how early these patterns can emerge. Childhood instability also plays a massive role. Kids from unstable homes who move frequently or bounce between foster care feel like they have no control over their lives. And when people feel powerless, they sometimes seek control in the most destructive ways possible. Combine a lack of empathy with a pathological need to control others, and you have a deadly combination. According to Psychology Today, the most common type of serial killer is the power/control killer. Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, Dennis Rader, they all fall into this category. These killers have what experts call a God complex. They kill slowly because deciding how and when their victims die makes them feel empowered. Sexual assault in these cases isn't about lust, it's about the feeling of power and dominance. Paul Harrison, who spent weeks interviewing John Wayne Gacy, describes it perfectly. With the serial killer, they've enjoyed the power of life and death, and they want to relive that again and again and again. The first kill is often chaotic, unplanned. The Zodiac Killer wasn't a seasoned murderer. Some of his victims survived because he was nervous, sloppy. But once that first kill happens, once they feel that rush of absolute control over another human being, something clicks. They make a conscious decision. I'm going out to do it again. Dr. Eric Hickey, who evaluated the BTK killer, explains that these killers don't feel remorse. They can't. When you lack empathy, when you can't feel what your victim feels, you don't feel bad about ending their life. Some can even cry and appear to show remorse, but it's performative, a manipulation tactic. Dennis Rader scored 32 on the Hare psychopathy scale. That puts him in the same category as Ted Bundy and the Hillside Stranglers, the most sadistic killers imaginable. These aren't people who snapped. These are predators who found satisfaction in suffering. Beneath the narcissism and control lies something else: rage. Many serial killers harbor deep, simmering anger at the world. John Wayne Gacy felt inferior his entire life. Nobody really liked him, nobody considered him an equal. Deep inside, he had a burning need to get even. Dennis Rader was angry about his childhood, angry about feeling underappreciated, angry that he wasn't getting what he thought he deserved in life. That rage doesn't just disappear, it builds and builds until they can't control it anymore. Some experts describe it as jealousy toward normal people, people who have healthy relationships and normal lives. They resent what they can't have, what they can never be, and that resentment transforms into violence. Paul Harrison observed this pattern repeatedly. They've all got this deficiency somewhere, that they're trying to be something that they're not, or make amends for what they missed out on earlier in life. So, what creates a serial killer? There's no single answer. It's a toxic combination of factors: narcissism, childhood trauma, lack of empathy, an insatiable need for power and control, and often deep-seated rage. But here's the most chilling part. Dr. Hickey reminds us that the Zodiac Killer, despite all his bravado, was ultimately a real coward. Most serial killers are. They hide behind masks of normalcy. They prey on the vulnerable. They manipulate and deceive because deep down, they know they're not the superior beings they pretend to be. The good news? We're getting better at understanding them. Criminal profilers like Paul Harrison and psychologists like Dr. Eric Hickey are building frameworks to identify these individuals earlier, to recognize the warning signs and potentially intervene before tragedy strikes. As Paul Harrison says, we should have a center for violent crime which houses specialists and experts. When a serial killer is caught, they go through the process of profiling to help similar crimes be detected much quicker. You're actually saving lives in the long run. These people are real, they walk among us, but by understanding the psychology behind the killer, we take away some of their power. If this video gave you chills, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. See you soon, and until then, stay vigilant. Trust your instincts. And remember, monsters aren't born in the shadows, they're created in plain sight.